Welcome back to the channel. Now, most of you that are following me will know that I've got a fair amount of classic BMWs and Porsches in the garage. I even have a classic Ford. Recently, I've acquired a few Porsche GT cars, as you may have seen on the channel. And a couple of years, I purchased a barn find E30 M3 convertible, which I sold earlier this year. Now, in April of this year, I was introduced to another car, and this is a barn find, and I just couldn't refuse it. I've only gone and bought an RS500. And yes, guys, it's a genuine RS500, but it's seen better days. It is a garage stroke barn find, and I do love a challenge here. You know, if you have been watching the main Cast TV channel and some of my channel last year, you'd have seen the E30 M3 convertible barn find, which I restored up to the point of no paint, and I let that car go. But I did love that project, and somehow this one landed in my lap and I couldn't refuse it. So the plan today is to pull the car out. I'll have to grab some of the lads to help me because I think there's a few issues with the rear brakes. We'll talk about the history of the RS500. Just give you a little brief overview if you don't know the difference between a standard Ford Sierra 3-door Cosworth and the RS500. And then we'll go into the history of this car because this car is very special. And then we'll talk about the plans for this particular car because it's a non-starter and it needs a lot of love. So one thing about a barn find is chances are it's going to be filthy on the inside, and this car is no different. It absolutely reeks, and from what I know, there have been mice living in here, and there's the remains of a dead pigeon in the engine bay. So no such thing as smell-o-vision, but if you could smell this, it's rank, absolutely rank. Right, guys, are we ready? There we go. Ford made 5,500 Sierra Cosworths. That's the 3-door version. So for homologation purposes, Ford had to manufacture a minimum of 500 cars to enter the Group A BTCC, British Touring Car Championship. So they took a stock Sierra 3-door Cosy and delivered those cars to Tickford, and then Tickford did their magic on them. So this is one of those 500 cars. In fact, this is number 496 of 500. The RS500 was only available in 3 colors, and the rarest color being Moonstone Blue, of which there are only 52 units. Then we have white, 56 units, and then we have the most popular, which is the black, and there are 392 units of the black, making a total of 500 units. Manufactured in 1987. So this car is 38 years old. Now let's talk about the visual differences between the RS500 and the standard 3-door Cosy. So on the front, the biggest visual differences are the bigger mouth and the bigger cutout. So here and the mouth here, just behind the number plate, which extends wider. And that's to allow extra air for the bigger intercooler, and the intercooler on the RS500 is a lot wider and it's a lot taller as well, significantly larger than the stock 3-door Cosy intercooler. You've also got these little grills here. Now all the stock Sierra Cosys, the 3-doors, have fog lights here. And when these cars were sold, the fog lights were removed, and in fact they were left in the boot of the car for the original owner. And these wire grills, these wire mesh grills were fitted to allow extra cooling for the brakes. And on the front, visually, this plastic lower lip, which wraps all the way around to the side of the front bumper. That's different, and that's probably for aerodynamics. On the stock three-door Cosy, it's actually a rubber lip and it doesn't wrap around. Couple of subtle differences on the side. You've got this pinstripe with the RS500 decal here, and you've got this Tickford badge. Now on the back, massive difference. So on the RS500, you actually have two spoilers. On the standard three-door, you only get the bigger whale tail. You don't get the lower spoiler. Obviously, it's for downforce. And you also have this extension of the spoiler, which is called the gurney flap. And that's only on the RS500. So two spoilers. And visually, just here, you can see RS500 Cosworth. Power-wise, there wasn't a massive improvement over the stock three-door Cosy. We're only talking, I think, 204 or 205 brake horsepower on the stock Cosy, and 224 or 225 brake horsepower on the RS500. So not a massive amount of difference. And also the way this delivered the power, there was considerably more turbo lag because, as you can see, there's a massive turbo there. Now, I don't think this is the actual RS500 turbo because this particular car has had many engine upgrades. In fact, this car is, or was, 521 brake horsepower, and we'll get to that in a moment. First and foremost, there's a different inlet plenum, which is just here. The stock three-door only has 4 injectors. As you can see, there are 8 injectors here, that bank there and that bank there, and also the plenum is totally different. Now, for the road cars, these 4 injectors are actually not connected. There was a cable that was left hanging back there, so you only had the 4 injectors working, but from homologation purposes, Ford had to deliver the same engine that they were using for Group A. You've also got a larger throttle body, allowing more air to get in. You've got the bigger turbo, which I mentioned earlier on, although this turbo is different to the turbo that would have come in the stock RS500. You've got a reworked water system, different thermostat housing, different water pipes, and you've got a different airbox and air intake pipe and snorkel. There's a different heat shield for the turbo, as this car generated a lot more heat. And finally, the engine block in the RS500 is a lot stronger and is totally different to the engine block in the three-door Cosy. So yes, quite a few significant upgrades over the stock three-door Cosy. And this particular car, you may have noticed it, has got a Queensland Transport plaque. This car did live in Australia for the best part of, I think, 13 or 12 years. We'll look in the paperwork and we'll talk about that shortly. So there's your engine differences over the stock three-door Cosy and the RS500. Let's have a look on the inside. Right, gloves back on because, oh my God, this interior is rank. It absolutely stinks. You can see the mold on the seats. And if you think the front seats are bad, wait till I show you the rear seats. And there's a reason why this cover's on here, guys. Actually, this seat's not so bad, but you can see there's mold there, and I don't particularly want to get my fresh clothes dirty. So, in fact, let me just, I don't want to sit in it because it absolutely stinks. So here is the plaque, number 496 of 500, and you've got the Tickford badge underneath, Aston Martin Tickford. RS500 Cosworth, that's pretty cool, plaques in place. Original Ford stereo with the little amplifier underneath with the balance and fader control. These gauges, I'm not sure if these are stock or aftermarket. I'm going to assume these are aftermarket. Obviously the 3-spoke steering wheel, 5-speed box. Mileage, this car's got 2,822 miles. No, I'm lying. It's actually 102,822 miles. It's well used, but you know, you're looking at the interior. Look, the bolsters, they're solid. Check that. They're not even sagging. The door cards, solid. Now, whoa. Just check out all that mold. And luckily, it's not on the roof lining, so it is just the interior. Even the carpet looks pretty good, but she doesn't half stink. So in the boot here, we have a spare wheel. Very good condition here. As you can see, if I lift that, sound deadening, which is obviously cracked a little bit, But other than that, very good condition, some old oil. Now, from these chewed up bits of paper, you can tell there have been mice or rats living in here. An original shelf. It's not been cut for a set of 6x9s. That's a rare find. Worth a few quid, that shelf, just by itself. So there we go, guys. A quick overview of the RS500. I need to get my breath back. I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air because it stinks and I feel like that smell is in my clothes. And then what we'll do is we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll talk about the chase, because the chase is one of the most important things about buying a car. And if you're trying to buy a classic car and it's got a history and a story behind it, sometimes that chase is actually better than getting the car itself. And this chase, while it was problematic, was also fun. So I'll be back in a moment. Now, before I get into the chase, because it wasn't an easy car to acquire, let's talk about the history of this particular car, because there's some really great snippets of history that this car has. First and foremost, I found this Sierra RS500 brochure, the original brochure, and in here is actually a price guide. But here we've got the Sierra RS Cosworth. Now, the 2-litre 3-door in 1987, including VAT, is £17,860. I actually thought it was less than that. I've heard figures of £15,000 or £16,000. But the RS500, this particular car, 2-litre 3-door, was £19,950. And metallic paint was an extra £161. This car in period was £20,000 in 1987. Now, within the box file, and I've got to say this box file by the previous owner is fantastic because it's got a copy of the logbook for the original owner, 1987, owner number 1, original logbook. Now, a copy, should I say. This is the third owner. I'm obviously not going to mention his name. He bought the car in 1993, had it for 4 years, covered 21,000 miles and sold it in 1997 with 73,000 miles. Now, bearing in mind, this car's got 102,000 miles. It's done 29,000 miles in the last 28 years. So 1,000 miles a year, bar the last few years, actually. But the good thing here is the receipts. There are receipts here from Power Engineering. Now, if you're a Ford guy, you would know all about Power Engineering in Uxbridge. There's a receipt here for £2,848. Engine mapping, Coney suspension, exhaust system, discs, air filter, plugs, but it goes on. So that's February 94. We're talking now August 93, so Paisley and Porter in Avon. There's a bill here for £3,500. So we've got 3.5. What was the other one? 2.9, just call that 3. £6,500. Then we've got another bill here for in 1993 as well for £2,600. Oh, and another bill here for £1,200. So we've got best part of £9,000 worth of bills for this car between 93 and 97, and that's all about power upgrades. The third owner was power hungry. Now, I think he's the chap that boosted the power up from 224 brake horsepower to 521 brake horsepower. Now, how do we know it's got 521 brake horsepower? Because Performance Ford in May 2002 featured this exact car. That is the number plate of this car. I do love these wheels, and we'll talk about that in a moment. 500 brake, RS500, 174 mile an hour. That's a lot of power in the late 90s and early noughties. So this magazine feature, this write-up, gives an indication of all the works that have been done. Chap's name is Darren Marsden, okay? So I'm going to just give you some of the Ford facts, the engine Ford facts. Number here, 496 out of 500, so it's exactly this car. 200 block with all spray jets. Some of this stuff is way above my head. 7.0-1 compression pistons, Group A stud and nut kit, balanced crank and rods, high pressure oil pump, WRC metallic head gasket, Peugeot spec cylinder head and cams, race spec T4 turbo, and the wheels. So the wheels then were 8x17 inch TSW Hockenheim Rs. So if anyone has a set of these wheels, hit me up, I'm interested. So yeah, this car was featured in Performance Ford. Now that's 2002. And in 2004, this is when it gets a little bit tasty. The car is exported. Here's the export certificate from the UK to Australia. And for the next 12, actually 11 and a half years, it sits in Australia. And I think it's got some nice history there as well, because two owners had their own private plates on their car. One of the plates was RS500. The other number plate was 521 brake horsepower. So two absolutely quirky number plates. And then finally in 2016, it was imported back into the UK. So yeah, a lovely history with this car, but the history doesn't end there. So there's not many cars out there, and there's not many owners that can say that Corgi actually commissioned a die-cast model of their car. When I mean their car, this is a Moonstone Blue RS500. But if I pull it out of the packaging, I managed to buy this on eBay. And this is the cool thing about this die cast. The number plate. E200 CMX on the car itself. That is this car. And there's a lovely little write-up with a little numbered card. This is card number 593 out of 1,000, so there was 1,000 of these made worldwide. And briefly, I'll just read some of the text here. The car was modified by Power Engineering in February '94, fitted with Koni suspension, as I mentioned, I showed you the receipts, improved brakes, upgraded engine, ECU remap, raised the power to 521 brake horsepower, cost £2,848, as I've just mentioned earlier. And then finally, it came back to the UK in 2016. Now, this is pretty cool. So, let's talk about the chase. This car wasn't even on my radar. I know what an RS500 is, and probably most of you watching do. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the black RS500 that sold in 2023 for a world record-breaking £590,000. So everyone knows that these are special cars. And I think because of that RS500 breaking records, there's a lot of internet chatter about RS500s. This particular car was purchased by the previous owner in 2020. He had a bit of a fueling issue and he parked the car up. And he left it parked in his brother's garage for 4 odd years. Didn't start the car, left it, no trickle charger, did not start the car, was worried that it might catch fire. But it was in a garage through the summer months, autumn, winter months. So up until January 2025, this year, the car was sitting in that garage. Now, the brother who owns the property said, look, we need to get that car out the garage because I'm refurbishing the garage. The car was pulled out and left on the driveway. It's a private estate, so it wasn't on the road. It's a private driveway. Nobody could see the car was there. But underneath the cover, through the harshest weather conditions, January through to April, so the winter months. And I think that's where the smell and all the dirt and the grime actually sort of embedded itself onto the car, because whilst it's in the garage, it's probably quite nice and clean. The previous owner, a lovely gentleman called Happy, reached out to me via Palm and via one of my other friends, Jag Semi, and said, look, would Raj be interested in buying this car? I want it sold, but I want to keep it off the internet, as in I don't want it on Auto Trader, I don't want it on Instagram and the social media, I don't want people knocking on my door and tire kicking. And it was offered to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm interested in that. But at that particular time, I had the 355 project car, which was sitting with exotic and supercar, having the complete restoration of the engine. I had the E30 M3, which is over there, the car was in paint with Bob at Auto Body Technique, and I had my Guards Red 964, which would have been the next car to go into paint. I thought, I can't have 4 projects, just, it doesn't work. So I sold the Guards Red 964 to Dream Car Giveaways, and only the other day, Dream Car Giveaways posted some pictures on their Instagram showing that the car's going for paint. So when that car comes back from paint, that's gonna go up as a competition car on Dream Car Giveaways. I sold that car because I thought, I don't want a 4th project car. Started negotiating the deal with Happy. Originally, the price that we agreed on, I was happy with. There's enough meat on the bone for me, and he's making a profit. Plus he's getting out of the car, and he didn't want to restore the car. Shook hands. A week later, he phones me and says, deal's off. My kids don't want me to sell the car. Both of my sons are saying, no, we don't want you to sell the car. We want to keep the car in the family. They want to restore it. So I was like, okay, fine. No money had exchanged hands. It is what it is. You know, sometimes it happens. So the deal fell through. May the 8th, Happy rings me and says, you know what? I've decided the car needs to go. I've spoken to my sons, and they've said it's okay to let the car go. And Happy has other projects. He's got other classic cars, and he said, you know what? If I let go of this one, I can then maybe sort out the other projects, and he's got a nice collection of cars. And within 24 hours, I got my ducks in a row. I rang Vic from VS Recovery Services. I said, get yourself down to this address on, I think it was May the 10th. I'll meet you there, we're gonna pick the car up. And that was it. Deal done, got there, loaded the car back onto a low loader with the help of some of the builders that were on site refurbishing this beautiful property. Obviously the car doesn't start. The rear brakes, I believe, are either seized or the caliper seized or whatever it is. Wasn't easy. And then we got the car back to CAS HQ. So I've got to say, the chase was probably the fun part of this whole transaction, and the sheer delight and joy that I have, and you could probably hear it in my voice, to have yet another unicorn halo car in my fleet is just amazing. You know, I've got the 46 CSL there. For me, that's a keeper. I would never sell that car. And recently I bought the 991 GT2 RS, which for me is my dream car, but to have managed to acquire this a few months earlier is just amazing. And I know this is a long video and I'm doing a lot of talking, but to keep this car off the socials, away from the socials between May and we're filming in October, 5 months has been very, very, very difficult. And I've not told many people. There's only a handful of people that know about this car. Obviously all of you know now, and it's going to be on my socials. But here you have it, guys. My 521 brake horsepower Ford Sierra RS500. I was going to say, doesn't she look pretty, but far from it. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Right, let's talk about the plans. We're going to restore this car because it needs it. You know, these are special cars. It's not going to ever be worth £600,000, but the RS500s have appreciated over the last few years, and currently these cars are very, very, very hot. Next up, we're going to try and start it. So we're going to have to obviously get somebody in or send the car to a specialist, change the belts, change the fuel, change the oil, spark plugs, all of that kind of stuff, and at least turn the crank, because I don't think the crank's turned in 5 years. The brakes are going to need changing, the tires, maybe the fuel lines, we don't know. We're going to get the car on the ramp, so in the next episode we're going to push the car across the road into our workshop. We're going to get it on the ramp, have a good look underneath, and I'm pretty confident the underneath is solid because it has been living in Australia for best part of 12 years or so, and also while it was in the UK for 4.5 years, maybe 5 years, it was sitting in the garage. So we're going to get it started, we're going to get it all cleaned, so we're going to partner up with one of our cleaning brands, and they will give this car a proper detail, obviously externally and internally, and get rid of that ranky smell. We don't know what the paint's like underneath because obviously all this grime and crap, although I can see there's a little bit of blistering on the back tailgate. But other than that, the car looks straight and honest. Then we're going to use it. We're going to use it alongside my Escort RS Cosworth, very similar color. That's Rarest blue, this is moonstone blue, and I think by the time this car's detailed and looking shiny, it'll be a very similar color to my Escort Cosworth. So those are the plans for this particular car. Now it's going to take a few months. It's not something that can be done overnight. So in the next episode, we're going to partner up with somebody. I don't know who yet. Got a few ideas and few names, but I'd like to do that here at CAS and get it started. At least get it fired up. Then we're going to get it detailed, and then over the winter months, it'll be completely recommissioned. So you're going to see a lot of episodes on the RS500. You're going to see a lot of content on my own personal social media on Instagram about the RS500, because I think this car deserves it. A bit like the E30 M3 convertible, special cars, limited cars, they need this love, because ultimately you're not going to get another car like this. Ford are never going to build another road-going, homologated BTCC car, are they? It's never going to happen. So it's a rare car, it's a rare find, and I think I need to give this car some love. Now, before you guys go, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a jump pack and see if we can get the stereo and the lights, just to see if there's any life in this old soul. Right, let's see what happens. Ooh. We've got some life, indicators on. I can hear the fuel pump. We have a working radio. This is now lit up, with the 3 display units there lit up. The dash lights up. There is an immobilizer here actually, didn't see that. Oh, guys, we have power. That's all lit up now. And it shows that both the doors are open. The wipers are now working. I think this is going to be one cool project. So, there we have it. My RS500. Now, listen. If any of you watching know this number plate, E200 CMX, if you know any of the previous owners, get them to message me either on Facebook, Raj Sangha, or on Instagram, Raj Sangha 911. I'd like to build up the history file of this particular car, and if they've got any period photographs, that'd be absolutely brilliant. They could tell me what they did with the car, tuning, performance, whatever they did, holidays, drives, all of that. And if anyone has a set of TSW Hockenheims, let me know, because I'm after a set, because I want to try and recreate that front cover from Performance Ford. If anyone knows of somebody who wants to partner up and help me get this car started, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of my purchase. Am I mad? Have I gone insane? Is this car destined for the scrapyard? Should I really be spending the time, energy and money restoring this car? I think so, but let me know what you would do. And before you try and hit me up and offer me obscene amounts of money, the car's not for sale. Not at this particular moment in time. Smash the like button, make sure you're a subscriber, and I'll see you on the next one, because the next one will be still going to be with the RS500.